Hello, friends. Hola, amigos and compadres. Welcome to the Mark Rodney Show. Today, we're going to be talking about our time and our YouTube channel, Take Two, 3 years of Ethan and I creating videos with no budget and no experience and no skill.
I mean, it's a little
mediocre
true.
skill, a little bit. It's our growth, right? It was 3 years of learning, 3 years of being creative and just making whatever it was we wanted to make and making it happen.
Yeah.
And there's something beautiful about that.
Yeah, so this is our memorial to Take Two,
Yes.
if you will.
Yeah.
So for those OGs that have been with us since day one,
This is us.
This is for you.
This is goodbye.
Okay.
Roll that intro music. Roll the intro music. This is definitely going to be a nostalgic roller coaster ride.
Yes.
For sure.
Tears might be shed.
Tears will be shed. If you don't shed a tear, you're heartless.
I will try my best.
And you hated our experience on Take Two. And you hate me.
So let's wind back the clock a little bit. It's 2020, right?
Yep. We had just gone into lockdown for the global pandemic. So, little children who will inevitably be fascinated by our story and be watching this in about 50 years.
Yeah.
We went through a pandemic where we had to shut down the world for like almost 2 years.
Yeah. And that was in March of 2020.
March of 2020. Yeah. I left college and went home because they shut down college and we did all remote learning. And we, over the course of maybe 3 phone calls, decided, you know what?
That's crazy.
We enjoy this whole
I guess
video making thing, you know
there's
what I mean?
something we should probably explain to back this up. So we both went off to college. I was in Columbus and you were in Huntington, and
right.
we did a project over one of our Christmas breaks. I think the year prior. So
Yes, catching up.
So the December of 2019, right? I guess that would have been. We did Catching Up, which is on the channel now. By the way, we took down a lot of our Take Two stuff and changed our name and stuff, but we were keeping all of our Take Two projects on the channel.
Correct.
Just because that was formative of us as filmmakers and just good memories for us.
They'll be in their own little separate library.
So
you can check them out anytime.
If you haven't watched any of them and you're listening to this now, go and enjoy and don't judge too harshly.
Don't enjoy our early years.
But yeah, we did that project before Take Two was a thing. And we have some older projects even before that, like from high school or in between.
It was always
and
kind of the
college.
way we hung out.
Right.
Like, I mean, in high school, we hung out because we played sports together and we were friends and stuff.
Sure.
We saw each other. But, like, once we were out of high school, it was like the excuse to hang out was,
Right.
well, let's make something together. Yeah. Like, we both enjoyed that. We knew we'd have a good time doing it. And we missed the high school days of making a project. And we were like, we should film something. You're like, I have my own camera now.
Yeah, I got a DSLR.
We can shoot anything we want.
Canon SL2, baby.
The freedom we had. We used to make all of our projects by borrowing and begging. Like, I own nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's crazy what we made with just borrowing stuff and asking for favors for people to come out.
But anyway, we made Catching Up. That was December, and we enjoyed it. We kept up with each other. We were still good, friends. And, when the pandemic hit, we were talking, and we were talking about, probably about should we make something else or should we make, and then we started talking like, I think I probably said, I want to make a YouTube channel and just make short films and like make stuff. And you were surprised. I was like shocked at how excited you got.
Because for me, YouTube was where I was learning everything. I was getting into video. I finally got my own camera. Like we were doing it since high school, but this is the first time I was doing it. I was doing it for my internships.
Yeah.
So for like different businesses in Columbus. So I felt like I was, getting into something real here, but I was learning it all through YouTube. So YouTube became very important to me.
Yes. And what I remember being, this was just the interesting journey for me about this moment was I was thinking to myself, a lot of times in high school, I felt like you guys were enjoying yourself, but it was more of a fun thing to do with friends and maybe a little more of a hobby than like a passion.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I'm definitely the one who's more willing to stay for 8 hours doing this, and everybody else is like, I wouldn't mind taking a break, getting something to eat, going and watching a movie.
Pure passion.
Like
for
I
it.
was just like, I love this. Is what I want to do with like my life. And so when I think I didn't know if you would be on that train or not.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, and at that time, you were still developing in different creative endeavors. You weren't sure exactly like what it was you were going to like stick with. But video started to emerge as something important to you.
Yep.
At college as well.
Yep.
As I went to film school. And so like that was kind of the budding moment where I got really excited because I realized I was like, I think he's excited about it like I am. Like he's actually like passionate about it. And so you're like, yeah, let's do it. So we, over the course of 2, 3, 4 hour long phone calls, we created Take Two. And when we came up with a name, that was a crazy moment.
I remember sitting at my college desk, like in my shared, dorm room or whatever you want to call it, apartment, and just sitting at my desk in front of my computer and like looking up every name that we were coming up with. And eventually I think we came around to like Second Take or something. Just like we wanted it to be goofy, like we're not like pros.
We're not perfect.
At it.
Yeah, it's like it was, the idea was we're not going to get it right the first time.
And then when a name has multiple meanings, I think we get really excited. So then it was like
there's
two of us.
There's two of us. Yeah.
I was like, whoa. And so we got really excited for it. It is a fun name, but I think it's nostalgic. I mean, nostalgic, yes, but like it feels good to us because of what we made it. And the memories.
And then once we started making memories with that name, and honestly, one of the reasons I love the name so much was we were able to make a joke out of it in our first video.
Yes.
And that alone, I was like, oh, this name is so great.
Right. So that spring, it would have been 2020. We hung out either on spring break or something. I think it was right, either at May or even before then.
Yeah.
We got together at a park.
Well,
we actually tried to do it
We
before.
got together at a parking garage and got kicked out,
Yes.
viewers, from a parking garage because it was the pandemic.
Yeah.
An empty parking garage. They were like, we're not letting people in here right now. That's how scared everybody was of COVID at that time and how little we knew about the disease. Like they were like, get out. And we were like, oh, sorry. We didn't know. We thought we were just like
photo
outside.
shoots happen there all the time. Like,
Right.
We've
shot at the parking garage many times. It's not
in
like
the building that the parking garage is
They weren't
connected
mad at us for filming there. They were mad at us because
of COVID.
Yeah. But anyway, so then we met again at a park.
Yep.
I remember walking around the park and taking film of myself and of the park, like, where should we go? Like, there's a few places I picked out.
Yeah.
And we ended up landing on a little place with a, I don't know, it's not an awning, but.
It's not like a gazebo either. It's just like an outdoor dining area.
Yeah, it was just like it's like a roof.
Yeah.
It's just a roof with no walls.
Yeah. And the video we're talking about is the real reason we started.
The real reason we started a YouTube channel.
Which was our second attempt at shooting that. So it was even better that for the name Take Two.
Take Two.
It took 2 takes to get.
Our first video took 2 attempts, yes. And then at the end of that video, we came up with the idea of you had just been playing around with split screen.
Yeah.
And so we were like, what if we met our future selves and we did split screen?
I had just learned how to mask.
Yeah, so it was like, let's do effects.
Yeah.
Let's use that. And so we did, what if we meet our future selves and they like regret not starting a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
So we decided to do something with our life.
And that's how we announced the channel.
I still think it's legendary. I love
legendary.
it. It has, it's probably because it's our first video, but it does have a lot of views. I mean, based on our channel's amount of views.
Looking at it right now, 727 views.
Not even 1,000 views.
But hey, I mean, we only have 300 subs, 343 as of the recording of this podcast.
Yeah, so like the double our amount of subs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how it started in May. And then for me, it was just like, let's go crazy. Let's like shoot as many things as we can. Because we were on such a ticking time clock with Take Two. It was we have summer. We have summer to write it, shoot it, edit it, and finish it. Like
I had to go back to Columbus, and you had to go back.
I had to go back to school, go back to Indiana, and so the first one we did, the first short film we did after that was The Living.
Yeah.
Which is actually based on a short story that my mom wrote in college. And I remember asking her, like, after, I don't know if she brought it up, if she was like, oh, this, and I was like, I actually like had a vision for it, how we could make it into a film. And so I was like, well, I have a feeling that's one of many times I'll do that with my mom's idea. She's an author. You should check her out. RV Bowman. She's got like 4 or 5 books out.
We can
right now.
maybe link something in
throw something in the show notes. But anyway, so she had this short story idea about a detective a person who comes across someone dead, someone who has died, and later when the detective is hired on the case to come help with finding the body. The detective is the dead person. So like it was like this very like twisty like story, and we turned it into a comedy.
Yeah.
Well, I did because that's what we do. That's what we do. And yeah, we shot it. You came out. You brought Anj with you.
Anj and I were dating, and so we shot it in your living room.
His current wife.
Yep. We used a slider.
I remember that being really exciting.
I always tend to get people to start studios. I had just gotten SEU to like get paper backdrops and to get like some basic film or video equipment. I mean, this campus for this college is like 2 years old at this point.
Yeah, I mean, campuses need that.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you happen to get some use out of
and I use that stuff. I brought lights for, I mean, as we're talking about the heist later and stuff like that, like crazy stuff. But we brought the slider out for that. So just learning, putting that stuff together. Asking people to come out, asking Anna to come out, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Was that the last project she was in?
My cousin Anna, who made appearances in a lot of stuff, but pre this, right? High school stuff. Yeah. And so we were still on that. I was still on that train of asking her to be in everything.
Right.
So she came out. She played a great dead person.
For like 5 shots.
For like 5 shots. Jamie.
Yep. Jacob Thaxton came out. Remember that like halfway through?
Did he really?
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jamie is a good friend of my family, and I remember asking him to do it, and he's not an actor, he's not a movie guy. He'll watch movies, but and he agreed, and then he was so Jamie, I love you if you're gonna listen to this. Jamie could not remember his lines. Do you remember this?
I remember that being the theme for pretty much every project we made. Not with him specifically.
But with someone.
Yeah.
But I just want to, because I love Jamie and he's a friend of mine and I can say this and it'll be funny. He would, I mean, the lines weren't long. Yeah. He just could, for the life of him, to
and it was hot. We're right by the road.
Don't defend this man. No, I just get, no, but he just, and in the end, the great thing is you put together the edit and he's a stone serious detective. You take him seriously, it kind of works.
Yeah.
Like he's not a bad actor, but the man could not remember a line to save his life. And I remember him being so flustered and like, he's like, I'm sorry. He kept apologizing and kept trying the line again. And I had his line memorized. Like I was like helping him with, I was like, trying to get him to. So anyway, but we did that all in one day.
Yep.
It's a 1 day shoot.
Yep, came out with a 10-minute film, I think, or
something
sketch,
like that.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, a very, very short.
And then the other one, before we get into like 2, I think, staples of our channel, which are the Heist and Hello Neighbor, but the other one that we did that year was Leverage. Mm-hmm. And for that one, the backstory behind that was...
You called me up.
Yep, I called him up. Peter McKinnon, for those video YouTube people...
If you watch our video that we made in December, Ethan put color by Peter McKinnon.
Because I downloaded his LUTs. I bought his LUTs. And I was like, color by Peter
McKinnon. You're like, that'll give us some legitimacy. Yeah. Oh, man, that's embarrassing.
Yeah. No, that was for catching up.
Yeah.
But this was Leverage. So big YouTuber, if you're not familiar with who he is, he's, he taught me pretty much everything I know through the internet. But he was putting on a film festival and, we're encouraging people to submit to that. So I called Brody up. I was like, hey, what are the odds you come to Columbus this weekend?
And I was like, good.
Yeah, sure. What's the idea?
Yeah. We didn't have one.
That's, I think we've said this in other videos, but like we just kind of got used to just saying yes before asking too many questions. But literally wrote it as he was driving to Columbus. We were like brainstorming together and I would like type it in a Google Doc. And then
I was like,
Abigail came out and I think she held the camera for part of it.
She helped with a lot of stuff that
day.
For
audio. I mean, she's helped several projects, but we went out to
Shout out
Creek.
to Abigail.
There's a dam out there, and it looked cool, and Brody wanted to do a Liam Neeson thing. It's like one of his shticks.
I like to do a good Liam Neeson impression.
Yeah.
Right?
And I did a New York accent, which we all regret. Actually, I'm not mad about that accent, except for when I say the word "to" at the end. I say "toe."
Toe. That's not how you say "to" in a New York accent.
This is where you start to see that Ethan's less of a performer
Correct.
But
I mean, you were giving
used
it.
a gimbal.
What made it so embarrassing is that you were giving it all you had. Like
Wow.
you
Yeah.
believed in that person being real.
Yeah.
Just no one else did. But it was fun. It was really fun. And
I like the idea of characters. We needed,
Yeah.
like we're going to play so many versions of ourselves, which is fine. But like I wanted something a little different than just
and
Ethan.
here's the problem is that I wanted to. This is where this film is like embarrassing to me is. And I, we're looking back on it, right? It's fond memories. I love that short. I go back and watch it, and I love that I do a silly, borderline Liam Neeson impression, and that you're doing a goofy accent, and that we like did this melodramatic like, give me the drive.
Yeah.
And it's like something legendary about it, but that is something that I learned how to incorrectly do parody. As in, I felt like we fell somewhere in between taking ourselves seriously and parodying all those action movies that we had seen.
If we had leaned into the parody more, it
would have worked.
Cool. Yeah.
But we didn't, and definitely was not realistic or believable. So it just ended up being like corny. Yeah. Like what is
that was kind of that's like the Take-Two brand.
I mean,
it's just like
corny, fun,
right?
Like
goofy on the nose.
We're kind of
stuff.
imitating the big movies we see, but not reaching that mark.
Yeah,
So it was fun, and I just love the memory of it was a 48-hour film competition.
Yep,
so like you were like, but we did it in 24.
Yeah,
if you remember, because I didn't have time.
It was like a Friday when he announced
I
it,
came up on Friday.
Come to like Saturday.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, you were like, "Can you make it?" And I was like today or tomorrow? Like, and I like pretty much came right up. We wrote it on my way down, annotated it in the car, and then got there, pulled our crap together, went out to the dam. Abigail came out with us. We shot it. We went back to your SEU apartment.
Yep.
And we edited all through the night.
Yep.
I mean, the memories of that is what makes it so fun. Is like I remember everything about those days, and that was that was in 2020.
And thus the phrase was born. We need more Guam.
So I mean, we're doing a classic action thriller vibe movie we'd seen. And we're big fans of Christopher Nolan. Specifically, Ethan is Chris Nolan's your favorite director like of all time. Most of your favorite movies are Chris Nolan movies, and so we're looking for music that would have a punch to it. And we looked at each other, and I think you said it first, and you were like, "We need more blah." The classic Chris Nolan blah.
And then when we found it, we were excited because it elevated. That's like we were looking.
That's what we were looking for. We needed more
fit
blah.
the genre, fit the film,
and we found blah.
Anyway, that's leverage in summation. We got so many to get through here, but that was a fun little one.
So
5 minutes.
The Living and Leverage were definitely our less prominent.
Effort.
Yeah, like ones like we kind of just pulled the script together for The Living quickly. We wrote Leverage on the way down and shot it in under, whatever, it's 24, 48 hours. And then we had a grand idea. I and you and I both really wanted to do a heist movie.
Right.
Like we were super passionate.
Ocean's 11.
Yes.
Classic. Like there's a team.
If you've seen Tower Heist.
Yeah.
Any classic heist movie, Ocean's 8, that was the newest one that had come out semi-recently probably at the time. And we were just like, we want to wear suits and sunglasses and be cool and suave, right? And I wanted to be tan.
Oh my gosh.
Little bottle tanner. You can see me looking like Trump.
That's not the last time he's done
looking
it
a little
either,
orange.
so.
It's not. I'm a fan of tan out of a bottle. I'll admit it.
And don't worry, I roast him plenty. So
I hear my fair share of. He said, "You have your." He always recognizes it, and he says it with a look in his eye.
You did it for a photo shoot.
I did do it for a photo shoot. Listen, girls have makeup, and I just don't think it's fair. And I'm like, why can't I have a glow up for a photo shoot?
Anyway, the heist.
The heist. So we had this idea, and I remember there was a brief conversation between us that was, can we pull this off this summer? Like, do we have time? Because we remember both of us thinking, this is going to be bigger. And it was 30 minutes, ended up being 30 minutes. And we were like, can we, which is not a good length for a film.
Yeah.
30 minutes. It's a tough length to get
And
right.
honestly, I think I was working at a full-time internship at that point. Like,
You were working.
I had a cubicle.
Yeah, like you were working all the time.
Right.
And so like it was like, if we're going to do this, it's going to have to take place over 3 weekends is how we ended up doing it.
So imagine producing this, like leading up to it. We're talking on the phone on my lunch breaks. I remember like stepping outside just so I can.
On
let's
your
be honest,
lunch breaks?
I was a little bored in that internship at times.
You were that internship was your take 2 internship. That's
It
I
really
remember,
was.
I remember saying like you would just send me stuff
I
at
made
work.
all of these thumbnails that you see. Well, the old thumbnails
At
now,
work.
the time of this. Yeah, cutting people out. That's where I like learned how to use Photoshop. I accidentally clicked on a video. But
That's amazing.
Yeah, so producing it was an interesting time. Trying to get an art museum, that's something we had to have in this film.
Yeah, so like the heist was the big thing that we learned was producing together. So I had learned a lot about it myself doing Spider-Man, and if you go to our channel on our throwbacks, one of them we reposted is that Spider-Man movie I made in high school. But
27,000 views at this point, by the way.
So and
For a
that's
repost?
For a repost, right? It was at that amount, and then we reposted it. So somewhere in the 50,000 range. But yeah, so we had to get. That's where I think that's where we both got on board with not being afraid to ask,
Right.
Because we didn't have money. We weren't calling people and saying like, what's your price?
Yeah.
We were like, can we just for free film?
Yeah.
We filmed at. Let's talk locations here. So over the course of 3 weekends, by the way, we dragged half of Lima into our efforts in terms of our friends.
Namely, Lizzie Hilser, Jonathan,
Dakota,
Acklin, Dakota Clay,
Paul Holloway,
right? Yes.
And these people came out.
And that's just cast.
That's just cast, right? And then we had like the art show in the movie where we had Wendell Hill, who's been in almost everything I've ever made, come out. And a bunch of extras come out.
Yeah.
Nathaniel White. So a lot of involvement there and getting people to come multiple times.
Yeah.
Lizzie Helser, who is a friend of ours, and but it's not like you and I have like done a lot of hanging out with Lizzie, right? Good friend. But
She was a few grades younger than us?
Yeah, a couple years younger than you, 1 year younger than me. And was willing to come out to Columbus on a weekend all day and film the Camacho brothers, who helped us with that one on crew.
And Cameron
Worsham,
Yep.
who's helped us many times before.
Shot all the stuff in
on
Art
crew.
Space Lima.
I mean, so that was just like cast crew, like pulling that together over 3 different weekends was crazy. But then to then get all those locations. So we shot at our old high school, at our old stomping grounds.
Yep.
We shot at Art Space Lima, who's lovely and who, we had been there many times. I had been there many times for art shows and things in high school, had a good relationship with them. And we filmed at the Columbus
Museum
of Art,
which is on the college campus there, the CMA or whatever it is.
And we filmed at a suit shop.
Yeah.
A men's
Which is no longer there.
That's no longer there, but
Rest in peace.
Yeah, so sad. We're old enough now to be like that building no longer stands. But great guy, and he acted in the movie. The guy who owned the place. What was his name? Do you remember? Something Johnston, right? Johnston.
Yeah.
Doug or
it was Johnson & Johnson was the business that was there. We thought his name was Don.
But Don Johnson was his
It's
dad.
not his real name.
And his name was Doug or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But he acted in it. You can catch his performance, like the guy in the suit shop is him.
He cameoed in it.
But he had a little he had a few lines. Like the fact that he's in the movie is crazy. And so that was like a nice men's
and I think we'll
suit apparel
we'll
shop.
dive into pulling off productions on no budget on another podcast. I think that's something. I mean, I've had extensive phone calls with people like who want to do that same kind of thing, and I think there's value in that as a young filmmaker to do for sure,
to learn how.
So I think I want to dive and spend more time on that later. But the heist was crazy, but because it was multiple weekends, we're always trying to like maximize our time. Like the reason we're hanging out today is that we have a meeting, and we're like, let's squeeze in a podcast,
maximize
let's
our
get a video
time.
in.
Yep.
So on that same kind of thinking, we shot Hello Neighbor, which was, I think that was my brainchild.
Yep. you had wrote a little sketch. Like, I have this funny idea: 2 dads in a yard competing over who's
it's a different
got the
kind
better
of
yard.
comedy than I think what you normally come from. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
I mean, sure, if you want to do something.
Yeah.
So kind of got behind it, and
And it really resonated with people. But yeah, we shot that during one of the weekends.
right
in
before like
between
heist shoot. We just kind of, I think it was over the 4th of July week somewhere in
at
there.
our good friend
'Cause I
Jonathan's
remember
house.
there were fireworks going off in the audio in the background. We were using Movo lav mics.
Good times.
Which
I
for
bought.
any filmmakers out there, Movo is like the budget of the budget brands.
Yes.
But we were just
$200.
excited to have good audio. We needed good audio for
Yep.
our film, but it kept cutting out. It was a windy day for whatever reason. For whatever reason, both days we shot Hello Neighbor. It was like summer, but like
super windy.
weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, we did it. We shot it. We had to wait for the audio to connect to make sure like we had signal because it was like a wireless transmitter kind of
If
thing.
you remember, Derek Pitts came out that day and he held the camera at the end of the day. Went for the shot that we were
or was
both
that Hello
in.
Neighbor 2?
That might have been Hello Neighbor 2.
Yeah.
That was Hello Neighbor 2. But Hello Neighbor 1, so we filmed each other,
Right.
which is crazy. We set up the camera, we filmed each other.
On a tripod, I think.
We
Probably
were,
borrowed.
We were like feeding each other lines. We didn't really have this stuff memorized, like
Yep.
because we were in the middle of the heist. Like
Yeah.
it was just kind of this side project. Jonathan let us use his house. We went over and knocked on his neighbor's door to ask if we could stand in his
And then
driveway.
we went back the next year to ask. We filmed the video here last year.
Do you
Would you mind
remember?
letting us use
Can we
it
do it again? Yeah.
Whatever. We just didn't want them to call the cops. So
That's all we wanted.
yeah. So that was that. I mean, and then Hello Neighbor just became like a little bit of a legend status, which is why we did Hello Neighbor 2. And Hello Neighbor 2, for our cinematography friends that may be listening, pretty much our nice camera up to this point was an EOS RP, a Canon EOS RP. So like the first like full frame camera, mirrorless camera that we could get our hands on. With not nice glass, like probably a kit lens or like a 50 millimeter, like something. So that's like what we shot when we could get our hands on a nice camera. That's what we used. Even for the heist, the heist was a mix of Canon, Sony, even my DSLR that didn't even shoot 4K.
That was the thing about the projects at that time was we just shot on whatever we could get our hands on.
Right.
That was the best thing.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have the best thing, and this is a decent thing though, this is a lesson we learned. Even if we didn't have the best thing, we still shot it.
Yep.
And that's like I think something we both like push on each other that we're very like adamant about is like don't make the excuse that you can't create something because you just don't have. If you have the knowledge of something better and you don't have it yet, just keep making stuff anyway with what you have.
Yeah, and I can fall into that trap of gear. I love gear. I
gearhead.
spend a lot of time on it, and cinematography is near and dear to my heart. So even now, I mean, we've got Blackmagic systems, which are great. I mean, you're watching Blackmagic now, but
Right.
It's not a Red, it's not a
Not
RE
the
or
Alexa,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's like it can be like now that we're trying to be more legit, we're like. If we want to make a film, do we have to shoot it on like a $10,000+ camera?
Right?
And no, we don't. We
No,
can
it's
shoot
not always the
on-
case.
And the Blackmagic image looks great. It's just not treated on the same level. Which
It's prosumer.
that's another spiel for another time for me.
Yeah,
But
and we have a whole podcast probably dedicated to that sort of
Yeah.
conversation. But talking about Hello Neighbor 2 is a great transition into year 2.
year 2, which was Hello Neighbor 2,
Loop and Seek.
Seek. Yep.
So we made 3 projects the next year. Seek was actually the first one we shot because that was shot at Huntington University. That was actually my sophomore film at
Yeah,
school.
it was a project.
My project. So I had this great idea that I was going to bring you up for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted to make a BTS video.
Yeah.
And it was a bit divisive that we had you on set because it was a school project and
Yeah.
you didn't go to my school. And I was like, I want
I'm not
Ethan
a
to be
film
involved.
major at all.
Right. You weren't a film major. You were just an outside
And this was my
business.
first time seeing the traditionalism. I don't know if that's the right word or the stigma.
Just the set standard, like what it's like to be on a film set, and that like there are particular like lanes,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
like and that like certain people do certain jobs, and other people like.
But this was an
expect you to do
eye-opening
yours.
experience for me that video is different than cinema.
Yes.
And I was told that pretty much directly.
Mm-hmm.
and I am I am a pretty confident guy, but I got put in my place.
Yeah.
And it was a humbling experience for me.
And it was odd for me because I just remember feeling mostly like I didn't want to make anyone upset.
Right.
Like I just remember feeling kind of like I was like uncomfortable.
At this point, I was important to your creative process, but no one else understood that.
Right. And I was like, I
was
want you
brought
to
in
be
as an actor,
Right.
but I was like, also you were kind of
I
giving
wanted
me like
you to be like
co-directing.
Yeah, I wanted him to be creatively involved, but it was a school project, so like, is that right to do? Probably not. So like, we got caught in this weird trap. But when we got on set, it was made clear that you were just an actor, right? So then, okay, we knew what our roles were, we got it figured out, and we were able to do that film.
We got it done.
But we had a blast acting together.
Yep.
It's still one of my favorite
Little scenes,
combos for us, like
Turner and Hooch.
Because I got made fun of for that Turner and Hooch reference so much. But you and I flipped our roles.
Yeah.
Usually Ethan plays the like get it together man, and I play the like losing my mind, like stupid idiot. And like we flipped.
Yeah.
And I had so much fun watching you be an idiot. And you did so good. Well, I was like, I loved it. It made me laugh so hard to see you like, to do the Gus saying from Psych. I literally told you be Gus from Psych. That was my great directing.
The assignment. Hey everybody, this is future Ethan here. I just wanted to jump in and let you know that when recording this podcast, it ran a little long and we actually ended up recording for a full hour. Typically, we like our episodes to be around a half hour. So what we decided to do was to split it up into part 1 and part 2. So be sure to be looking for part 2 that will be dropping in the next episode. And we'll go on kind of from Seek and talk through the rest of the Take 2 projects with a few reflecting thoughts on there. But thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one.